Hello and welcome back to the Sports Sermon. I'm Dylan Staggy.
I'm Jason Gandhi.
And I'm Dan Majors.
And today we are back for more football previews. So as you can tell by the title, today we are talking about the AFC West. So we have a few questions that we lined up for every team, and then we're going to give a record prediction too. So we'll talk about 3 different questions for every team and give a few predictions at the end. So let's start it off with the Raiders. First thing up, will Marshawn Lynch, the Raiders' new addition in the backfield, rush for 1,000 yards this season? Dan, what do you think?
Well, I took a look at his past seasons and stuff, and to get 1,000 yards, it looks like he has to get at least 250 carries. I think he will need to play in like 14 to 15 games to do that. But I don't think he'll stay healthy enough to play in that many, so he will not get it.
Yeah, the Raiders have a good offensive line, and Marshawn has had a good past, but he is 31 years old. There's 2 other backs in the backfield, in DeAndre Washington and Jalen Richard. The Raiders are going to pass the ball a lot with Derek Carr. They have a few new weapons out there, so I don't see them giving the ball off to Marshawn Lynch 25 times a game and letting him do his thing. He's 31 years old, took a year off from football, so they do have a good offensive line, but I still wouldn't give it a very high percentage chance of happening. I'd say maybe a 20% chance, but I just don't see him getting enough carries. And like health is a concern too, like Dan mentioned. I don't see it happening.
Yeah, I think you guys brought up good points. On the negative side of it, I think he retired for a reason, which you mentioned, Dylan. And you look at his last year that he played in the league, he only averaged 3.8 yards per carry, and that was tied for his 3rd lowest of his career. Dylan, like you said, he's 31, and now he's gone over a year and a half without playing a game, so that's the cause for concern. But on the flip side, he is better than what the Raiders had last year. Latavius Murray was there last year, and he did rush for 800 yards and 12 touchdowns. It was exactly 788. So they only are expecting 212 more yards to get to 1,000. But you look at those two compared to each other. During Murray's NFL seasons, he breaks a tackle once every 7.6 rush attempts, and over Lynch's most recent season, so his last 3, he broke a tackle once every 3.4 attempts. So that's almost 2 broken tackles, or like double the amount of broken tackles, which is huge with this offensive line. How much they're going to pave the way. So you only got to break 1 extra tackle, so that could be the difference between a touchdown. Also, Marshawn Lynch tops Latavius Murray in average yards after contact since 2013. Donald Penn, so that's kind of the positive. But then you look at the offensive line, like you mentioned. Donald Penn was the top-graded run-blocking tackle in 2016, and this year was PFF's runner-up for the Best Run Blocker award last season. Last offseason, the Raiders signed Kelechi Osemele, and he was the highest-graded left guard in terms of run blocking. Gabe Jackson ranked just outside the top 10 right guards in run blocking, and Rodney Hudson, who's a better pass protector than he is a run blocker, ranked 4th in the center position. So, even if Oakland has the below-average right tackle, which is not looking good right now, their offensive line is extensively better than anything Lynch has teamed up with in his career. So, I have him falling just under the mark of 850 yards and 9 touchdowns. I think, like you mentioned with Richard and Washington, I think they'll be the 3rd down back, especially if it's longer because you can dink and dump to them. I think he gets 9 touchdowns, 850 yards, but I think there is potential for him to hit 1,000. I would, like you said, 20%. I'd put it like 48, 49%. I don't think it's that far-fetched because we saw what Murray did where he had 790 yards. With really, he didn't get that many carries. He only had 195 carries.
But I see Lynch getting the same number of carries as that. I do not see 250 carries this season.
It sounds like he's going to get a lot of. I mean, it sounds like he's the workhorse. Like it's not going to be Washington. I don't think will play very much. He was inactive for most of the games last year anyway. I think Richard will be a pass catching back. So if it's 3rd and 9, 3rd and 10, then you go, okay, we need Richard. But I think if it's 3rd and 3, 3rd and 4, you're going to see Marshawn Lynch be a 3-down back. And you mentioned injuries. I don't see injuries being a problem. Only thing I could see is a concussion. But like he's definitely in shape. I'm not worried about the injury history. I'm worried more about how much they'll throw the ball. But I think he would easily get 200 plus carries easily.
He's just on the wrong side of 30. I think by the end of the season he starts to wear down. Even if they want to give him all those carries now, I don't see his body being able to hold up till the end of the season and really being able to get all 250 carries that they hope to give him right now.
Yeah, I can see that. I don't know. I just think that when you look at how the Raiders are going to play, where they're in a lot of second and medium situations, and that's a perfect time to get Marshawn the ball, and then you just let him work. And if he does stay healthy for all 16 games, he only has to get 16 carries a game, which is a lot. But I think in more games, I think there's gonna be games where we're up by a lot where he'll get a few carries. And I don't know. I just think Marshawn's going to be more of a workhorse than people expect. It's a different conversation in the fantasy aspect. If we're playing fantasy football, I don't touch Marshawn where he is, but I do think he'll be productive in short spurts. I don't think he'll go for 300 yards a game, but I think he'll be 100 yards and a touchdown, stuff like that. So that's just, I don't know, that's what I think Marshawn can do.
Yeah, well, I think it's more of just like him wearing down, like Dylan said, not
just because his body hasn't taken the hits. Yeah, I mean, that's definitely a good point. I personally think, he stayed in shape. Like, it wasn't, because, running back, you don't come back unless you're able to play. He knows what it's like. He knows what kind of hits there are. And if anything, it's softer than it used to be, so he knows what he's going to have to deal with, and he wouldn't have come back if he didn't think he was in shape. So I don't know. I definitely think it's something that's going to be good to keep an eye on as Marshawn makes his return. It's definitely one of the biggest headlines going into the season.
Yeah, we'll have to see. He definitely has the talent, and the Raiders definitely have the offensive line to do it. We'll just have to see how, with his age, he will hold up. Let's move on to the passing game on the offense. We all know about Derek Carr, his huge contract, 5 years, $125 million, with $70 million guaranteed. Was it smart, and how do you think he holds up through the contract? Is he going to keep up the good work with Cooper and Crabtree this season?
Well, I'd say the only good thing about the contract is that they have him locked up for the future, but he is obviously not worth that kind of money. He was 14th in total passing yards, 7th in touchdowns, and 8th in passer rating. In my opinion, that should not make him the most played player in the league, but that's just how it is these days in sports. Mike Conley in the
Andrew
NBA,
Luck last year getting the highest
Luck,
paid for sure. Devontae Freeman today being the highest paid running back. That's just how it works.
That's just how it is.
I have it on both sides. I think when you say no, I think it's hard because they still have to lock up Khalil Mack, Amari Cooper, and keep this offensive line there. And Carr will be taking up more than 15% of the cap. Also, Derek Carr's accuracy percentage was 70.94, just 25th in the league. And this could potentially, I hope not, but this could be similar to 2012, how the Ravens signed Flacco to that lucrative deal, and then they kind of tanked those next few years because they couldn't get anybody around him. So, that's one cause for concern. But I have a feeling, Dylan, you're going to go no, too. So I'll go into the yes part of it. And it was a 5-year, $125 million contract extension. But he has made it very public that he left money on the table to make sure they can keep those other guys. So I have a lot of numbers here that we calculated to see if it would work out. It's not that much of a hit because it's so Andrew Luck's last year had so much more guaranteed. This isn't as much guaranteed money, so it does not hurt the Raiders as much. But before the extension, Carr was going in. His base salary is going to be less than $1 million on his final year. So now this is how it's going to work. He will make $25 million this year when you combine his $12.5 million signing bonus, his $7.5 million roster bonus, and his $5 million salary. His base salary is $5 million. Then in 2018, he'll get a $15 million roster bonus plus a $7.4 million base salary in 2018, but that doesn't become guaranteed until after the Super Bowl, which is key coming up later. Then he has an injury guaranteed portion of his 2019 salary that's about $20 million, which doesn't become guaranteed until February of 2019. The injury guaranteed portion of his 2020 salary doesn't become guaranteed until February of 2020. So that's how it works. He gets it in February. Nothing in 2021 or 2022 is guaranteed. So that means it's really a 3-year deal that's guaranteed money that has it in there. But technically, they could cut him after the next year in 2018 and only pay $47.5 million, which still sounds like a lot. But that's if it somehow happens where he is horrible and he just derails. They're only out $48 million, not $125. Where if Andrew Luck, if he can't stay healthy or if he gets cut a lot, they're paying him $70 or $80 million guaranteed.
Isn't Carr getting $70 million guaranteed?
No, he's only. If they keep him throughout, then he would get. Let me see. It'd be close to 50 something. It's not very much guaranteed because of the way his injury guaranteed portions fall. In 2022, we'd get a bunch, but throughout the years they could cut him and not be screwed. So that's kind of where it's not as long term screwed like Flacco is and what like Luck is, just because they're able to get out of it if they need to and kind of like cut their losses. So that's just something. But I think obviously he's getting overpaid. I don't think anybody's worth that except for LeBron in the NBA and probably Tom Brady and Aaron Rodgers. But I mean, that, like you said, that's just how it works.
So you're throwing the Luck comparison in, but Derek Carr has never played in a playoff game. He's never won a playoff game. Obviously, if he hasn't played in one, he's never thrown for 4,000 yards in a season, and no one is worth 25% of the more than 25% of the salary cap. $70 million
It's
guaranteed.
more than 15%, not 25%.
The salary cap is $94 million.
It's going up next year.
It's not gonna.
This year,
What is
yeah.
it going up next year?
What?
What is it going up to next year?
I don't know, but we can say it's 15 million. It's more than 15. It's just over 15 million. 15%. Sorry. But either way, I mean, I agree that no one's worth that much. But I mean, if you're looking at Luck and Carr, I think everybody would take Derek Carr over Andrew Luck right now. Like for the future, if you're going to say the next 5 years, I think 9 out of 10 people that don't live in Indiana would take Derek Carr.
I don't know. I mean, Derek Carr has never played in a playoff game and has never thrown for 4,000 yards.
Luck can't stay on the field in general. I'd take 50 yards over what Luck did last year.
If Luck had Derek Carr's offensive line.
I mean, he doesn't, though. Matter of fact is he doesn't, and he can't stay on the field, and so Derek Carr is much more valuable than Andrew Luck.
I would not say that.
He can't stay on the field. He's hurt all of the time. So you can't take. He's not valuable if he can't stay on the field. He's already going to miss some games this year. So now he's only going to play 13 games at best or something like that. I saw something like he's out the first 4 games. So he can play 12 games. I would take. And Derek Carr is already healthy from his broken leg. Like, you can't value somebody that doesn't stay on the field. Yes, if he's on to the same offensive line, yes, it would be different. But he's not. You look at them, and Andrew Luck is less valuable because he cannot stay healthy. He had injuries at Stanford. There was no horrible offensive line there. Like, he has injury history. And that is a cause for concern where I could not give more guaranteed money to a guy that had injury history. Derek Carr was a fluke accident on a broken leg. It's not like he's getting concussions and what was the other one? Lacerated kidneys. That's probably a little fluke accident too. But just like in general, Derek Carr doesn't have all these injuries that are building up. He has one and he's already back from it. And that's where if I'm the Raiders front office or the Colts front office, I feel more comfortable paying Derek Carr the big money. Not that the Colts shouldn't have paid Andrew Luck. Obviously, like we've said 30 times, they have to do it because he could leave easily, like you're seeing with Le'Veon Bell right now. I'm just saying I think Derek Carr is more valuable than Andrew Luck, and I would say most people would agree with that.
Yeah. I mean, I don't think it can predict the future on injuries that much. The Colts' offensive line is getting better, and I just don't see Derek Carr, if he's never played in a playoff game,
he would
4,000
have,
yards
though. Like, he's going to this year. Like,
everyone expected Luck to come back healthy this year, and
there was
already concerns about it.
Yeah, he hurt his shoulder. Like, there's always concerns with him. When was the year that we weren't going, no, hope Luck doesn't get hurt? Oh, hope Luck doesn't get hurt. It's every year.
They're taking it slower this year, and he's not playing through anything like he has the past 2 years. He's getting fully coming back from the shoulder injury.
But what happens when he gets hit the wrong way again and something else happens? Like,
why can't that happen to Derek Carr?
I agree, but you have to look at injury history and respect the fact that history repeats itself.
I don't know. Injuries are just so random. I mean, you can't really say that.
You can't say injury history plays into a factor. Then that would change a lot of NFL rosters if they weren't worried about injury history. That makes or breaks people's careers, injury history. Not even their current injury, it's injury history. That is huge in the NFL.
It's different for positions like running back or quarterback.
Quarterback is huge for injury history.
Per position, they get hurt the most out of any position.
You cannot have your starting. You saw it when Derek Carr went down. The Raiders lost their minds. The Raiders cannot afford. No team can afford for their starting quarterback to go down, except for probably the Browns, because they've got probably a better one behind them. Like, every other team cannot afford to have the quarterback go down. And if I'm going Derek Carr for the next 5 years or Andrew Luck for the next 5 years, I'm going to take Derek Carr. If I had to pick 1 year, they're both healthy, yes, I'm taking Andrew Luck, no doubt. But if I'm looking at my future as a franchise, I want the guy that does not have injury history.
I don't know. Well, let's talk about the defensive side now. Will the Raiders' defense improve enough this year to make a Super Bowl run? 26 in total defense last year. Do they have enough to make a Super Bowl run this year?
Yeah, I think that's definitely a good question. So in the offseason, the Raiders hired John Pagano to be Del Rio's assistant head coach. Now, that I know it sounds like, why are we talking about that? But if you look into it, John Pagano's presence gives the Raiders 3 defensive coordinators, and their real defensive coordinator, Ken Norton Jr., John Pagano now, and Jack Del Rio, who has been a defensive coordinator in the past. So those three, like you mentioned, was they're gonna have to try and come fix this 26th in total defense and 24th against the pass. When Pagano's come in, a lot of players have talked about it. They improved communication, including Carl Joseph, who said, "quote I think we're a big step ahead of where we were last year around this time." End quote. So Pagano is a big step in the right direction. You can now got three defensive-heavy coaches that can really try to shore this up. When you look at the actual players, Khalil Mack had 11 sacks last year, but got next to no help from his teammates. Danico Autry had 2.5 sacks, and then Stacy McGee, who is now on the Redskins, he also had 2.5. And they released him now. Dan Williams had a half sack. There's nobody else in that front four that got a sack. In the linebacking core, there is no middle linebacker as of right now. Jelani Jenkins, Corey James, Tyrell Adams, and Mark Kelly are fighting for the spots, but there's no clear-cut winner. Bruce Irvin is the only solid linebacker we've got on the outside. And then in the cornerback position, you just have to hope that Sean Smith and David Anderson have bounce-back seasons. If they can, I think the defense improves, and I think they will bounce back a little bit. Gary and Conley, at minimum, should be the starting nickel corner from day one. I think their defense is going to improve. I think they'll be top 22. I was looking at that. I think they're top 22, so a little bit, not enough, like only 4 spots. I think they'll be a top 22 defense. But I don't think the Raiders' defense is the reason they get to the Super Bowl.
Yeah, they'll improve, like you said. The one thing you didn't mention, got some extra depth on the defensive line with Eddie Vanderdoes and Trayvon Hester. I think that'll be big.
Mm-hmm.
But the Patriots stand in their way, so Oakland, I do not see them making the Super Bowl, especially their defense does not carry their way to the Super Bowl.
Yeah. The Raiders are 26th in total defense last year. Like Jason said, no middle linebacker as of right now. We have no idea who's going to win that. And lots of young guys will have to get playing time, with Garyon Conley, Obi Melifonwu, and Vanderdoes at the defensive tackle. It's going to be a rough year on defense, I think, for the Raiders. A lot of new guys coming in, and I really don't see them the defense being able to hold up enough to make a Super Bowl run. But Jason, you said you don't think the Raiders defense is the reason they get to the Super Bowl. Does that mean that they will get to the Super Bowl?
I think they do, but I don't think they can. I don't think they beat the Patriots in a way. I do think the Raiders beat the Patriots in the regular season. I think they are the team that upsets them in Mexico because it's basically like a home game for the Raiders because they've established a very big fan base in Oakland. But besides that point, I think the Raiders do get to the Super Bowl. I think the Patriots will lose to a team in the divisional round. Maybe it's a wild card. I don't know who. I haven't gone through and figured out who I think will be in the playoffs. But I think the Patriots lose in the divisional round, which gives the Raiders an easier path. They win the divisional, win the conference round, go to the Super Bowl. But I do think they lose in the Super Bowl to the Green Bay Packers. But I think it's because this offense is going to be explosive. You look at this team, and you've got Derek Carr, Marshawn Lynch, Amari Cooper, Michael Crabtree, Cordero Patterson, Jared Cook, and Clive Walford. There are a lot of options, and you have to give up one, and teams are going to have to pick which one. And I would be happy with any of them. I think any single one can single-handedly win a game for the Raiders besides Clive Walford.
I think you are being very hopeful in saying that the Patriots are going to lose in the divisional round.
Yeah, when was the last time that happened?
I don't know. I think it's going to be a team where they get hot at the end of the year and they just keep riding it. I don't know what team it's going to be because I haven't looked through it. I know that I have only one team in the AFC West going. I've got the Dolphins as a wild card. I have the Patriots and the Dolphins, and then AFC North. I think the Steelers win the division. I think the Ravens and Bengals just miss out, but then I think the Titans win the division in the AFC South. So I guess that would mean that the Bengals or Ravens do have to get in. I think it'd be a team like the Ravens that have history with knowing Brady, knowing Belichick. I don't know if they get hot at the end of the year, or the Bengals if they get hot. I mean, the Bengals have a lot of offensive weapons. Where you look at Dalton, if Joe Mixon gets going.
If the Bengals get hot.
Yeah, I think any team obviously besides the Browns in the AFC North has a legitimate chance to beat the Patriots.
But I don't see it.
No.
I don't see it.
No way.
I think that someone gets hot and can upset them because I just think that
some team we're not expecting. Maybe,
I think the Patriots will get lazy, especially if they go into the playoffs undefeated. If they start taking the gas off, because I know it's the Belichick and Brady way, but there's a lot of new faces there. Stephon Gilmore, who's never been on a playoff team. Brandon Cooks, who, he's been on the Saints, but really not done much. I think these guys might get complacent with, we're in the playoffs, and then get lazy. All it takes is one play here or there, and it's.
I mean, they're still the best offense in the league.
Oh, I agree. I think it's more of a not sleeper pick, but like a bold prediction, I guess. I think the Patriots
That'd
lose.
be a pretty bold
Yeah,
prediction.
that is-
I don't know. I think the Patriots will lose in either the divisional or conference round and don't make it a Super Bowl. And I think it opens the door for the Raiders to do it.
I don't see any team in the AFC North besides the Steelers coming close to beating the Patriots, especially because I think the Patriots will be the 1 seed and it'll be in Foxborough for the playoff game. The team from the AFC South, I think the Titans, if they win the division, there's no way they go into Foxborough and win a playoff game. There's just no way.
I mean,
think
the Raiders have a legit shot to beat the Patriots if it matches up with them in the conference round. I mean, they've already seen them once. Whether win or lose, they've already seen them once. They got film on them. Not that I think they could. I'm saying, like, in general, they've got a shot also. I think the Chiefs have a shot if they can get there. I don't think they get in, but if they do, they have a shot. I mean, there's teams. I don't think the Patriots are as invincible as people think.
I just don't see.
I would still take whatever team with Randy Moss before I took this team, I guess, is what I would say.
I would too. I mean, that team went undefeated until the Super Bowl.
That's what I'm saying. That team, I would not be like a team in the AFC could beat them.
But
I think this team.
I don't think they shored up a lot of weaknesses with
I don't like the
Stephon.
running backs. I do not like Mike Gillislee. Do not like James
The
White.
Patriots
He'll
get
be
running
okay.
back production from anybody. There's no way any team in the AFC is beating the Patriots, especially in the playoffs this year.
There you
The
go.
last time they lost in the divisional round was against the Jets in 2010.
Yeah.
And then before that, lost to the Ravens in the wild card.
Yeah.
So,
Unless they don't get the 1 seed for some crazy
will.
reason and go on the road for the AFC Championship, there's no way anyone's beating them.
I mean, unless the Raiders somehow go 14-2 and they beat the Patriots, and Mexico's the only way they won't be the 1 seed, I would think. I mean, I don't think the Steelers are going to beat them. Like, you know what I mean? I think it's going to be the only team that could do it is the Raiders. That could.
Yeah, I don't see it happening.
I don't
but
either.
if they don't for some reason,
Yeah.
and they go on the road for the AFC Championship, that is the only way I see the Patriots losing in the playoffs. But let's move on to the Chiefs. We spent enough time on the Raiders. The Chiefs brought in a new quarterback this offseason. Through the draft, they traded up for Patrick Mahomes. So, do you think he gets some time this season? And if he does, how will he play for the Chiefs? Dan?
Alex Smith was the 16th in passer rating last year, and he will start most games this year. Mahomes will be an interesting project. If he gets in, I don't think he will do great, as he needs a lot more experience, in my opinion. But I think Alex Smith starts most of the games this year.
Yeah, I think Patrick Mahomes gets in. I think he's the starter the earliest by the bye week I think they would be 4-5 by then. I looked at their schedule, or by week 15 if they're 7-6 and out of the playoff race. I think the latest is week 15 against the Chargers. I think he's going to be the starter by the end of the year, especially because you do not trade up and give up your first rounder next year for a guy to not make a difference on the field. I think that if the Chiefs are 4-5 by week 9 after their bye week, or if they're 7-6 going into the Chargers game, I think there's a chance Mahomes is the starter. But I would guarantee Mahomes is starting before the end of the season.
I don't think so. I think Alex Smith has a chip on his shoulder this season and doesn't make enough mistakes for him to be taken out of the game. And if Mahomes does get in, I think he'll be back and replaced by Alex Smith really quickly. He has a lot of talent, but I don't think he fits well in this run-first, check-down kind of offense that's built around Alex Smith's style. He's a gunslinger, and there's little weapons for him to throw to on the Chiefs. I don't think Mahomes will be great. I think he will play a little bit, but he'll be replaced quickly.
I mean, I think
by Smith.
I think there's 2 ways I can see Mahomes going in. Alex Smith knows what it feels like to do both. All it takes is one injury for Alex Smith, or few bad games. I mean, Alex Smith saw Kaepernick do it when he had a guy on his butt, and I think it could happen again. Where I do think Mahomes is going to come in. I think that you see Donovan McNabb the way he was good in Andy Reid's system, Michael Vick the way he was good in Andy Reid's system. Patrick Mahomes is a lot of that moving around, just look, and just bomb it type thing. I mean, you saw that all the time with Michael Vick and Deshaun Jackson. Mahomes is different, obviously, but I think Mahomes is going to fit well with these Chiefs, and I think he could be I think they're going to miss the playoffs either way this year, but I think he could be the bright spot of the season when so many people are expecting him to be good and they fall. I think he could be the bright spot as Patrick Mahomes plays. I know a lot of people in Kansas City are excited to watch him play.
I don't think this year's a year for Mahomes.
Yeah.
I think he still needs experience getting going. What was he, the 10th pick or something like that?
Yeah.
That's
10th or
crazy.
12th? No, Watson was 12, right? So, yeah, he was 10.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Exactly. That's why I think he'll get in, because you do not trade your first rounder next year. Because next year, you're banking on this upcoming year. And so I don't think you're going to give up that one unless you think Mahomes is going to do it. Same reason why I think Watson's going to have to be the starter for the Texans, because you don't trade up that first rounder for next year if you don't think this guy can get you to the playoffs.
See, but Alex Smith is much better than Tom Savage.
Yeah, I think it could either be Smith getting hurt or Smith plays bad and Andy Reid's ready to pull the trigger. I think Reid would be ready now if Smith wasn't there.
I don't see this year for Mahomes. Next year, they'll change the offense, get more of a run and gun style with Mahomes, get some more weapons around him, because really it's Tyreek Hill and Chris Conley.
No, it's Tyreek Hill
and nothing else in the Chiefs' offense.
I know you're high on Kareem Hunt, aren't you?
Yeah, but I mean that's not a huge difference for Mahomes. I think he's got to get some new wide receiver weapons around him, and I don't think. I think Alex Smith is more of a game manager and will really take the reins of this offense. It's more built around him. But next offseason, they'll gear up and get ready for the Mahomes era, but not this year.
Yeah, just one last thing. You mentioned how Smith's more of a game manager. I 100% agree that Smith's the guy if they want to win games. I think by the end of the year, they're out of the playoff race, whether it's 4-5 at the bye week or 7-6 at week 15, where they're out of the playoff race, and they go, okay, we don't need a game manager to maybe win a few more games and go 9-7. I think they go, all right, we cut our losses this year and go let Mahomes get a little bit of game experience. That's why week 15.
Yeah, that makes sense. If they're completely out of the playoff race, I see them staying in the playoff race enough for them to keep Smith in. But if they're out, I think definitely Mahomes will be coming in. Let's move to the running back position. A lot of running backs on the Chiefs: Spencer Ware, Charkandrick West, Kareem Hunt, and two guys you might not know are on the Chiefs running back roster. CJ Spiller and my guy from IU, Divine Redding, should have been drafted, but that's okay. So who should be the running back in Kansas City this season? And really what should happen in this backfield? A lot of different guys, but none of them really breaking out and becoming the star and Jamal Charles gone now. Who should be the guy, Dan?
I like Spencer Ware as a starter. Had almost 1,000 yards last year and averaged 4.3 yards per carry. Weston Hunt will also see a lot of time, but West only averaged 3.3 yards per carry last year. So I like Ware as the starter, but definitely will be a running back by committee.
Yeah, I think I agree to be a running back by committee, but I think it'll be less of a committee than like other spots. I think the way it's going to work, or I think the way it should work, will be Spencer Ware is the lead back where he has first and second down. Then you bring Kareem Hunt in as the third down back because he can catch out of the backfield. But like you said, it'll be a running back by committee, but mainly Ware on first and second, Hunt on third, because it's rare that you see rookie running backs be successful right off the bat, especially if they aren't in that first round like Gurley and Zeke. But if you see guys in those third, fourth rounds, it usually takes them a little bit of time to get going, and that's why I think Kareem Hunt won't be that good. I know there's a lot of praise out of Kansas City about him, but I think you just temper those expectations, and Ware will be the guy.
At first, I think Ware, West, and Hunt will all start to kind of split carries throughout the season. But as it goes farther, I see Spencer Ware getting more of the running back kind of runs, shoving it up the middle. Kareem Hunt getting more of the pass catching downs, tosses, those kind of getting outside. He's a lot more elusive, agile, pass catching type of running back than Spencer Ware. So I see more of a Ware and Hunt kind of duo. West, I see him going nowhere. I don't think he gets a lot of carries. CJ Spiller and Divine Redding, though, hopefully they make the roster. They're all serviceable running backs, so we'll see if they do a committee or not this season. Let's move to the defensive side for the Chiefs. A lot of guys starting to get up there in age. The Chiefs have been a good defense for a while, but is the defense past its prime this year? Jason, what do you think?
So you look at this training camp so far. Safety Eric Berry, cornerback Steven Nelson, linebacker Derek Johnson, defensive lineman Chris Jones and Benny Logan all have been hurt this past week in the last few days, and this defense seems to be slowing down. Justin Houston coming off a torn Achilles. He needs to return to his previous level of play. He's missed parts of the last 3 seasons, and the Chiefs are banking on his return to his prior dominance on the field. If that doesn't happen, the number 2 and 3 pass rushers also have question marks. Dee Ford will be relied on to be the bookend to Houston, and he would need to become the primary pass rusher if Houston is unable to play at any point in 2017. And then you look at Tamba Hali, who is a pretty big name, but after a reduced role in 2016, looks to be a situational pass rusher at best in 2017. And so besides Marcus Peters, there's no real solid young guys. I just don't like the Chiefs' defense. I think they quietly have one of the worst off seasons, and especially also losing their GM to the Colts. I think they had quietly one of the worst off seasons this year.
Yeah, I agree, actually. The Chiefs did have a pretty bad offseason, but the defense, they still have enough pieces to be good. Really, for me, it's only Derek Johnson and Tamba Hali are the only really old guys on this defense. Everyone else is still around that 28, 26 to 28 kind of age. They're, in a few years, they need to watch out and try to find some more guys besides Marcus Peters. But for now, this season, they will still be in a
I mean, who else are
top
those other
10
huge
defense.
who else is other huge contributors you're talking about that aren't Derek Johnson and Tamba Hali? Like besides Marcus Peters, like there is no other big name there that I can think of.
I mean, D Ford, Justin Houston,
Houston's very up and down. Barry already has injury question marks. Who's the other one you said?
D
D
Ford.
Ford, I don't like. I think he's
He
a little.
took a lot from Tamba Hali last season.
Yeah, and that's where I don't know. I think this year could be very much a Tamba Hali doesn't like his role. D Ford's playing over. I think there could be locker room issues. I think there's gonna be a lot of issues on the Chiefs this year.
I think the defense will still be a solid defense, though. Definitely above average. They're not done yet.
Yeah, I think they'll be all right this year. I think they'll decline, like Jason said, but they were still seventh in points allowed and first in takeaways last year. Their only problem was in yards allowed, which they ranked 24th in. So losing like some injuries could be a very big concern. So I think that they will decline some, but I think they'll be all right.
I mean, yeah. I think the question is like, if you think they're gonna decline, what do you think their record's gonna be then? Like, I think they're also gonna decline. I just don't know what you have them at.
I have them at 9-7.
Yeah, see, I have them 8-8. I just don't. I think they're not gonna make the playoffs. I think they're gonna really struggle this year. I think there's gonna be locker room issues between the running back spot, the quarterback spot, the linebacker spot. There's a lot of young guys coming over to get these old guys, and it's gonna be, I think, a lot of attention in the locker room. It's gonna really cause this team to suffer.
Yeah, a little bit of an awkward transition at all of those positions, but I still see them finishing 9-7. Still a lot of talent on that defense, and game manager enough offense to keep them in games. Let's move on to the Chargers, though.
Los Angeles Chargers. That still sounds weird.
Yeah.
Whenever I see the LAC, I always think of the Clippers. And I'm like, why the Clippers? Like, I just it's weird. Like I see it on NFL Network. I'm like, LAC, like the Clippers, because like that's just what I think of. It's weird having them in LA. It doesn't sound right.
But a rough season last year in San Diego, decided to make the move to LA. And recently, Melvin Ingram said that him and Joey Bosa are the best pass rushing duo in the league. Do we agree? Dan, what do you think?
I would definitely put them in the conversation. They were a great duo, as Ingram had 8 sacks and 66 tackles last year, while Bosa had 12.5 sacks in only 12 games. So, in my opinion, they deserve to be in the discussion.
Yeah, the two combined for 18.5 sacks. You said them separately, just put them together, and both expect even better production now that they have a year of playing together. Like they now are comfortable with how they're going to play. But Ingram is playing a new position. They switched him to a Leo defensive end instead of playing in that 3-4 linebacker spot. Not that new, but different. But it's hard to fault him for thinking that. I mean, him and Bosa both finished among the top 25 players in sacks last season. With another year of experience, Bosa's going to play all 16 games. I wouldn't be surprised if Ingram and Bosa really ascend to the national radar.
Yeah, I say definitely. Last year they were the 5th and 6th best edge defenders rated by Pro Football Focus. Like you guys both said, combined for 18.5 sacks, also 5 forced fumbles last year. And really, these guys are the only bright spot on a Chargers defense that really is hard to find talent anywhere else you look.
Yeah, they lost Manti Te'o. They have Jason Verrett still. Did he get hurt again, or is he coming back? I know he got hurt last year.
I think he's back for this year.
He's a good one. Like you said, they don't have many options. They lost Te'o, and they don't really have a lot of pieces. So, I know he hasn't. I don't think he's got out there yet, but I think he's going to soon.
All right. So last year we talked about was very bad for the Chargers after years of being at least in the race with Phillip Rivers at the helm. Was last year a bad fluke, though, or are they going to continue this downward trend?
I think they'll be better, but I do not think this is a fluke. They can't stop getting hurt, and that seems to be happening year after year. And when it happens year after year, it stops being a fluke and starts being a pattern. I know you can say you can't predict injury, but there's got to be something going on in San Diego / LA with the trainers or the way they're working out or something. Maybe the new coach will fix it, but Forrest Lamp already torn ACL, done for the year. Mike Williams, I think, Dylan, you said he's out for the year. I thought he was working coming back.
It's not for sure yet, but I think he's
Out a
there's
long
at
time
least-
at least.
yeah.
So already their first and second round picks already hurt. And according to Football Outsiders' adjusted games lost metric, which weighs injuries to starters and takes into account whether guys are active but playing hurt, the Chargers have ranked 27th, 31st, and 28th over the last 3 years. So, I mean, I don't think it's a fluke. I think it's more of a pattern, and you can't call it a fluke if it happens every year. I know it's injury, but still, I just can't call that a fluke.
Yeah, I don't know if it was a fluke, but they will be a much better team than they were last
Mm-hmm.
year. Bosa will be improved now that he has a year under his belt, and this receiving core is very underrated. As Mike Williams, I think, will have a fine year.
Yeah, last year the Chargers lost a ton of games that are really close. According to Pro Football Reference, their expected win-loss was 7.7 and 8.3, even though they finished 5-11. Usually that takes into account all the games that they lost by a really close margin. So I think the Chargers finish around that this season. They're still a mediocre team, and they have a lot of young pieces that are looking up with Melvin Gordon, Mike Williams, Hunter Henry, Joey Bosa, and Melvin Ingram. I think those guys will be enough to bring them back to mediocrity, but I mean, not really much else besides that for the Chargers. A lot of holes, not a lot of depth on this team, and like Jason said, their first and second round picks already probably done for the year with Mike Williams and Forrest Lamp.
Yeah, there's only a few bright spots here. It's Phillip Rivers who's getting up there, the Melvins, and Joey Bosa. Besides that, there's a lot of question marks for the Chargers, but I think they'll improve for a few more years.
All right. So speaking of one of the young, bright pieces on the Chargers, after a rough rookie season, Melvin Gordon bounced back last year. Will he continue on this trend, or will he start to revert back to his rookie slump?
I don't see why he would decline at all, honestly. Everything lines up for him. No real injury issues and about the same offense, so there's no reason for him to do the same thing.
Yeah,
not to do the same thing.
he rushed for 997 yards and 10 touchdowns, had 1,400 yards from scrimmage and 12 total touchdowns, and he missed the final 3 games due to injuries. So I think he'll rush over 1,000 yards and have 11 touchdowns because the passing game will open up the running game and will have a very similar season to last year. Phillip Rivers, my fantasy quarterback, so I think he's going to ball out this year, at least numbers-wise, like put up yards and touchdowns, and I think a lot of picks too. And I just think the Chargers offensive line was 29th according to Pro Football Focus. They got Dan Feeney, who I like a lot, and Russell Okung came over. So those two will definitely fix that. I think it opens the door more for Melvin Gordon. I think he gets over 1,000 yards rushing and more touchdowns.
Yeah, I think a similar season to last year, but as long as he doesn't stay injured, for sure, a 1,000-yard rusher. Like Jason mentioned, the solid passing attack will open up a lot of holes for him. And there's a good enough offensive line to block. It isn't Cowboys or Raiders kind of offensive line, but it is still solid. Although Russell Okung was massively overpaid and Forrest Lamp got hurt, I think Dan Feeney will still be good enough at the guard spot, and the Chargers offensive line is good enough to block and open up some solid holes for Melvin Gordon this year.
Yeah, I think we're all pretty much in agreement that Melvin Gordon's going to rise. The only reason I could see him falling is if injuries come again, if Rivers gets hurt or linemen get hurt where he's just having to do it all himself, similar to like what Jordan Howard and Todd Gurley have to do, then there could be concern. But if everything goes according to plan, then Melvin Gordon should rise for sure.
All right, so record predictions this season for the Chargers?
I've got them at 8-8. I think they improve, but I just don't think I think the division's tough. I think they just don't have enough done.
I also have 8-8. As I said before, they will be improved from last year, but they're still in one of the toughest divisions in football.
I see 7-9 for the Chargers this year. If they can stay out of injury concerns, they could possibly win 8 or 9 games. But with their first and second round picks already hurt, and we know Keenan Allen's probably gonna get hurt in week 1 or 2, so I see 7-9 for the Chargers this year. Let's move on to the last team, the Denver Broncos. So a quarterback controversy a little bit with Trevor Siemian and Paxton Lynch. Who should be the QB this season, and Will they be good once they come in?
Yeah, I think there's a case for both of them. Simeon's more of a game manager. He won't lose games, won't win games, but Lynch can do both. He can win the games for you, but he can also lose the games for you. So I'm just going to kind of go into both, and then I'll go to you guys and see what you think. They'll come back to me. So Simeon, he plays a lot and the way he plays is very similar to Jay Cutler, where he seems like he just doesn't care. Like his personality seems very just like whatever, just nonchalant. And then we know that's not the case. It's also how he comes back from throwing a near interception to throwing a dime touchdown pass. Like you see these where he just lets it go. It's next play, next play, next play, which to the fans and media looks bad, but he is very good at just going next play and doing it. He's not someone who's going to slam his helmet down after a bad play. He's also not going to like do all these celebrations when they have a good play. So he seems like the type of guy who will be consistent as possible without taking too many risks and allowing like Paxton Lynch hopefully like, weed himself out with a few interceptions where if Simeon can just go 200 yards, no touchdowns, no picks, he might win the job that way. Lynch, I think the coaching changes benefit all the quarterbacks, but no more than Paxton Lynch. Mike McCoy and Bill Musgrave both have experience helping young quarterbacks. Notably, Musgrave worked with Derek Carr last year in Oakland and got his talent and his skills ready to go. And I mean, you saw that explosive offense. Paxton Lynch's ability to get the ball out quickly and push the ball downfield, go hand in hand with Mike McCoy's offensive scheme, but he needs to be more accurate with the football. We saw him last year, and his inability to even get a first down was crazy at times. So there's kind of like a little recap on both. Dylan, I mean, who do you like as the quarterback?
I got to go with Trevor Simeon. He had a solid year last year in his first year. 3,400 yards, 18 touchdowns, and 10 interceptions. That's good enough to be a game manager. And all through training camp, Paxton Lynch has really struggled so far and has not really had a lot of good practices. So I see Trevor Simeon at least at first. If he turns into more of a game loser instead of a game manager and starts throwing a bunch of picks, I see Paxton Lynch starting to come in. But I think Trevor Simeon gets the first crack.
Yeah, I can see Trevor Simeon starting early, but I like Paxton Lynch this year. They gave Simeon a chance last year, and he ranked in the 20s in most stat categories among starters. They drafted Lynch at 26 for a reason, and it wasn't just to sit him on the bench.
Yeah, I mean, that's similar to Patrick Mahomes this year. So I go Simeon, though. Paxton Lynch sounds like he has the upper hand right now because there's been good reviews out of training camp for him. But Simeon starting week 1 in preseason despite that. Lynch is starting game 2. I think Simeon will win the job. Like I said, I think he's just going to be okay enough where he doesn't throw these picks, doesn't throw these touchdowns. Everyone always says the defense is good enough. They just need somebody that can throw the ball and not turn it over. I think Simeon's that guy. Just manage the game.
Yeah. So speaking of the defensive side, Von Miller recently said that he thinks 30 sacks is reasonable for guys like him and Khalil Mack. Is that reasonable for anybody? Jason, what do you think?
I mean, yeah, Von Miller and Khalil Mack both have come out saying that was their goal for 30 sacks, and then someone else came out yesterday and said, I forget who, it wasn't like a big name, though. And I was like, all right, you need to relax. Von Miller and Khalil Mack, though, I think that's definitely some people that would do it if they could. The way I look at it is if you're going to get 30 sacks, you need a good quarterback who can put you in garbage time situations in order for a chance to get 2 sacks a game. And Von is at a disadvantage there compared to Mack because Mack, if the Raiders get up a lot, he'll have that opportunity. Then you look at teams have to throw the ball a lot. You can't sack a quarterback when he's handing the ball off every play. With the move toward a pass-first offense in the NFL, this benefits them. Faster tempo, more passes. The past 4 seasons, there have been the 4 most pass-happy campaigns in NFL history. So the passing rate's going up. Good for them. They also have to stay healthy. That's the big one. They cannot afford to miss a game if they want to do it. 30 sacks, I think, in general would be crazy if he does it. The record's 22 and a half.
22.
So the way it's going, I think there's a chance. I don't think it's going to happen. I think there's a chance for Mack and Miller. If I had to pick which one, I'd say Mack because he'll have more chance at being up by 20 plus. They're going to have to drop back. Because, I mean, it's only 2 sacks a game. I know.
Only?
I mean, it's only 2 sacks a game if you look at it. It's not like he's having to get... And Max put up 5 sacks before. Miller's put up 5 sacks.
I mean,
it's
that
not,
is like
no,
a game
agree.
of the century. 5 sacks.
It was not the game of the century. Tell me who's against.
I mean, that's like an outstanding game. Like,
Yeah,
there's probably been
I agree.
3 5-sack games.
No, I'm just saying it's only 2 sacks a game. It's not like he's having to average 5. It's not a crazy number. 2 is a lot, but I think because Mack and Miller are really the only pass rushers on their teams, if they can get someone to give a little more pressure on the opposite end, lets Mack not get double teamed as much, Miller double teamed as much, I think there is a chance that one of them could do it. I don't think it will happen. I think there's a chance.
I do not think this is realistic. The record, like you guys mentioned, is 22.5. Yeah, Von Miller had 13.5 last year. He might have a little run at the record, but he will not blow the record out of the water with Butler.
But if you look at when it was 22.5 with Strahan, those teams were so run heavy at the time. Besides the Patriots, they were so run heavy.
Still, but no one's broken the record.
I know. I mean, yeah, I think J.J. Watt's another name that could do it because they got Clowney. I don't think it's as unreasonable as it sounds because the way that the game is played, that it really only is 2 sacks a game. I know it's a lot, but it's 2 plays out of how many get played. All you have to do is beat your guy and get a sack. I know it sounds.
All you have to do is beat your guy and get a sack.
Like Khalil Mack and Von Miller get around their guys all the time, but it's a matter of because guys are releasing it so fast. I think it's a chance, not realistic. I think it's not like a bold prediction if they did it. I think it's
not a bold prediction.
I think there is a chance that both those guys could do it, and I think J.J. Watt's the name you throw in there.
I think it's possible to break the sack record, but I don't think it's possible to get 30 sacks. Break it out of the water by almost 8.
Yeah, there is.
I think the way that those guys are able to rush the passer so consistent. I mean, those guys beat their guys 10, 15 times a game. They don't get sacks every time, but they beat their guys 10, 15 times a game. All they have to do is just this much more, and they get a sack. I mean, it's like if you really study each player, it's not like they're not beat. It's not like it's some scrub on the Bears. Like it's the best pass rushers that maybe the game has ever seen. Those 3 will all probably go in the Hall of Fame as long as they keep their trend going up. It's not that insane. It's not realistic. I'm making that very clear that it's not. I'm not saying I guarantee 3 guys do it. I'm saying those 3 have the best chance, and there is a chance they could do it.
I say no chance. Von Miller hasn't had half of as many as 30 sacks since 2012, and the league leader last year was Vic Beasley, who had 15.5 sacks. That's barely 30, and he had a great year. No one has broken 20 sacks in the last 2 seasons, and the last time someone did, Justin Houston in 2014 with the second most ever, 22. That's still 8 away, and that's like an amazing season. There's so many things have to go right. You have to play all 16 games. You have to have a terrible schedule for offensive line, and they still pass the ball a lot. Your team has to be great, too, so that the other team is passing the ball a lot because they're trying to come back. You say an average of 2 a game is like nothing.
I didn't say that. I did not say that.
And obviously you're not going to get 2 every single game, so that would take probably multiple 4+ sack games. That is just way too far. 30 sacks is way too much.
I mean, do you think someone's going to break the record? Dan at least said they think someone's
going to break the record. Yeah, someone could break the record.
Yeah, but not... I don't see 20, even 25 really happening. They can maybe get to 25, but not 30.
I think you guys are not... I mean, if you really watch those guys play, Von Miller, all he needs is a little more pass rush from the left, and he is around his guy. As soon as the other team has to worry about the other guy, which is where Bruce Irvin helps Khalil Mack so much, if he can just make a little pressure, all it takes is one swim move, one rip move, whatever you want to do to get to the guy, and you're there. The problem where I think it's going to be is it's not a matter of beating the lineman. It's a matter of getting him before he releases the ball. So many times you see as he's falling, he just throws it. That's where I think the issue is going to be, is just getting the ball out before he gets sacked. That's why I can see him not getting to 30. It's not a matter of him not getting to the quarterback. I think all those guys are going to get enough hits, enough hurries to be able to get 30 sacks. It's a matter of being able to actually get the sack and get there just quick enough they can't get the ball out.
Yeah, I mean, I just don't see that happening 30-plus times because, you have half sacks too. You said you have another guy getting to the quarterback on the other side.
You need that in order to do it.
That takes off a half a sack, though, if you get there at the same time. I'm just saying that for that to happen probably 30-plus times in a season is just too much. Let's move back to the offensive side, though. For the Broncos, will Jamal Charles bounce back? And really, what's up with this Broncos backfield? Do you think they'll be good this year?
Peter King reported that Jamal Charles is expected to get 8 to 10 touches. That number could increase, though, since Devontae Booker now underwent wrist surgery last week. He's supposed to be out 4 to 6 weeks. Jamal Charles' path to snaps behind C.J. Anderson has become clearer, but he has to maintain his own health. He has injury history. He's only played 8 games in the last 2 seasons. He has to maintain his health, and he has to make sure he can just get that workload the Broncos outlined for him. I don't think he's going to be anything special. I think he's going to be a pass catching back, and he gets 3-4 touchdowns at max. I like C.J. Anderson this year. I think they got a very easy schedule, and I think that C.J. Anderson could rush for 1,000-plus yards and double-digit touchdowns.
Charles, he just gets hurt too easily to trust. He will produce a lot. But these 3 backs are really nice to have. Booker and Anderson didn't have a great year, but not terrible as CJ averaged 4 yards per carry and Booker ranked 26th in total yards. Add Charles to that mix, and they could have something brewing.
I am not high on this Broncos backfield. Jamal Charles, 8 games in the last 2 seasons. He's got to stay healthy. If he does, I think he has a bounce-back season. But C.J. Anderson has never played in a full season. Only 7 games last year and 4 yards per carry, down from 4.7 the 2 years before that. Devontae Booker hurt his wrist and was not good when he played last year. Only 3.5 yards per carry. A bad offensive line, too, for the Broncos. I am not loving this Broncos backfield this season.
Who do you think is the starter? CJ?
C.J. Anderson is going to get most of the touches.
What do you think? Where do you think he finished? Like how many yards?
Probably 700 to 800.
That's it?
Yeah, he's never rushed for 1,000 yards in his career, and I don't see why this year would be any different.
Especially if Lynch is the quarterback, I think he could. I mean, Lynch is going to make people are going to have to respect Lynch. He's able to drop the deep ball, and I mean, you look at Mike McCoy's offense. He is a very explosive offense. At times, Phillip Rivers threw for 400 yards a bunch. Like Mike McCoy is a very special offense. Where I think C.J. Anderson, I don't know if he'll put up 1,000. I think he could put up 1,000. Anywhere in the 800 to 1,000 range, I think is realistic for C.J. Anderson this year. Dan, like, what do you think about CJ? Do you like him or?
He's fine. I mean, 4 yards per carry. It's not great. It's not bad.
Mm-hmm.
But I think he'll do fine this year.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's kind of like the definition of the Broncos. They'll be fine. What do you guys have them? I have them at 6 and 10. I think they just don't get that quarterback consistency, and then going into next year, they're going to have to look at drafting a new one.
I have 7 and 9. I think they take a step back. The defense is still great, but the offense is worse. I think Simeon will do all right, but nothing special enough to get them back into the playoffs.
I like them a little bit better than you guys. I have them at 8 and 8. One of the toughest schedules, like you guys mentioned, finishing the year with 4 out of the last 6 on the road. I'm splitting with LA and KC and sweeping Oakland.
So before we wrap this up,
no, swept by Oakland. Sorry.
Okay, I was like, all right, I'll go past that one. Wrapping this up, what do you have the Raiders going? I'm assuming that's everyone's first place team. What do you have the Raiders going?
12 and 4.
I have 11 and 5.
Yeah, I also have 11 and 5.
Okay, second place team for me is the Chargers at 8 and 8.
I have Chiefs at 9 and 7.
Same. Chiefs at 9 and 7.
Okay, my third place team is the Chiefs at 8 and 8 also.
I have the Broncos at 7 and 9.
I have Broncos and Chargers tying at 8 and 8.
Okay, and then my last place team is the Broncos at 6 and 10.
Yeah, I also have the Chargers at 7 and 9. I think the Broncos win the tiebreaker though and get third.
Okay, so there you have it. The Raiders are winning the AFC West. You heard it here first. Lots of debate about the Raiders. I think it's going to be a fun year in the NFL. So many storylines to watch out for, especially in this division. And last year was the most competitive division and get a rival with the NFC East or the NFC South this year, but definitely the most competitive in the AFC.
I think it takes a step back this year. I have 2 teams with losing records. The Chiefs, I think, not as good at 9 and 7 this year. For me, it's not the really most. I think still in the AFC because the AFC South. If those guys all start to come up, they have easy schedules this year. I could see the AFC South starting to be the most competitive division, but this one I think is on the coming downward trend.
I think it's downward trending. I still think it's the most competitive in the AFC, though. I think the AFC South, the Titans will run away with that division. I think the AFC North, the Steelers are going to run away with that division. The AFC East, obviously, the Patriots are going to run away with it. I just don't see any other team being. I think the Chiefs and the Broncos could both upset the Raiders and the Chargers. I think any 4 of these teams could lose the other one. All 4 are so good at knowing how the other team plays.
Yeah, I think it's definitely competitive. Raiders obviously solid. Chiefs, I think their defense will be fine. Broncos, defense good. And Chargers, I think they'll improve.
Yeah, so I think it's definitely a fun year in the AFC West. Coming up, we got the NFC East. Like I said, the most competitive division of football, according to some. It'll definitely be a good one. Make sure you check that out. Go vote for our polls on Twitter. They'll be coming every day.
Yeah, the link to our Twitter account is in the description. Make sure you follow that and vote in our polls. But I think that's going to do it for today. If you want to see the rest of our NFL content coming out, make sure to hit that subscribe button. So thank you guys for listening, and we will see you tomorrow.